by the topics of the town host, guests, and commentators. And if we cut out the music, we're really getting a band out here today. And thank you, Jack. I think we have a runaway theme going. So thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. What we want to do is just give you a brief updates on some of the things that are going on around town that I believe are important to us. And one of them is the tree lighting will be held on December 3rd, this Saturday. And we have a clip of the tree. And the tree is already set up and ready to go.
Yeah, one time looked at it.
And the one thing that I noticed is that it needs ornaments. So I think it's not ready yet, but I think it will be in
It's
very
windy
few
today.
days. Yep, it's very windy today.
The problem's too windy today.
The second clip is of our infamous Santa Claus. We will have a Santa Claus in the square when the lighting happens.
I did hear that, yes.
And we are going to celebrate Christmas very soon. And if you notice, after the clip goes off, we have our 5 turkeys. And some of them have
Some of them ready
Santa
for
Claus
Christmas.
hats.
They're ready for Christmas.
So they're ready for Christmas. But what I'd like to do is introduce our 5 turkeys. And 5 turkeys are basically the school committee this time.
Okay.
And there are,
I think one left, so I only got 4 now.
well, no, they have 5.
Oh,
they
5.
already
Oh,
have
okay.
5.
Sorry.
They've
Not up to date.
appointed.
Apologize.
And we have 3 ladies.
Okay.
Is it? No, 3 men
Okay.
and 2 ladies.
So they already put someone on for,
Yes, for
Oh,
the school committee has
okay.
been appointed.
I wasn't aware about that.
And I don't have the name right on the top of my.
That's okay. I wasn't aware. I knew they
Yeah.
were looking for someone. I knew they were going to have someone fill the position.
Yep, they've filled the position. And what I have here is,
It's got to be someone local
well,
for sure.
it's already done deal. So
Okay.
we have 5
Okay.
members of the school committee.
And they're going to need it.
Now, the school committee is going through their selection of a superintendent
Superintendent, exactly.
because, as we all know, our superintendent resigned. And what I like to do is continue with these little clips because one of the items that we want to talk about tonight is the Beverly Airport
Oh, yeah.
Commission and
Definitely.
the status of the master plan itself. Also, what I've had scheduled for tonight was Eric Crane. He was willing to come on and discuss social and emotional learning with us, but he has been detained by medical and issues with his wife. So I hope them well, and I hope everything turns out
Yeah, I
to
hope
be
everything's fine.
successful, whatever is going on. Now, I've already introduced the 5 turkeys, and I'm just going through my outline here.
Not a problem.
And the Danvers related recent updates. One of the things that I brought up, and you have encountered that as well as I have, is tax classification.
Oh, yes.
Tax rate shift seems to be unfair this year because every year they have insisted on having a third of the valuation to the industrial commercial and 2/3 to the residential. And residential includes 2 families, 3 families, and multifamilies. However, at this stage, when they calculated the numbers, and I understand that was an effort in itself, is that the breakdown of the industrial commercial and the residential was shifted much more towards their residential. However, over the years, they have insisted on keeping it 1/3, 2/3. This year, it was, I don't know, have the exact numbers, but it was shifted to the point where the residential was getting hit hard. And if they used that ratio, they would have reached the 1.5, 150% of the valuation would have been shifted to the industrial commercial. So why is it important and very difficult to consume the ratio of 1/3, 2/3 when it applies to the commercial industrial, but when it shifts to the residential, they threw it out. They used their own calculation. And this tax classification is nothing more than a political shift of collecting revenue from our real estate taxes.
And I did hear that on an average house is about $265 a year more. Is that right? Is that what I heard?
Correct.
But
Correct.
it never seems to be that. They say that, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if I live in a mansion or whatever. It seems like it goes up a lot more than that. That's the
Well,
reason being.
our properties are not the average properties because the values of the properties in Danvers has gone skyrocketed.
I understand, but I mean, really, it's
So the thing is, what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander. And the political decision that the Board of Selectmen made this year basically destroys their 1/3, 2/3 ratio that they have been protecting for years. So the Board of Selectmen needs to address that issue and needs to address it soon.
another thing is like I was saying. The reason being, they keep saying they want affordable housing, affordable housing. Well, if you keep going up on taxes and you keep hitting the two families, you have to go up to, you have to keep going up. I don't know how people are going to be able to live. I mean, you know something, I have a heart. I mean, really. The reason being is I hate to see people. I mean, it's tough to live today. There's no question about it. This world today is a different world. You understand what I'm saying? It's just, everything's expensive.
No, it's no different except that it is more expensive.
Well, yes.
That's the thing that we have a hard time adjusting to because I remember, rents when I was first married. It was a 4th floor walk up in Lynn, and it was $149 a month.
Yeah, I wish I had.
And there were probably 20 units in that building. And the rent was appropriate. We were able to afford it, and we were able to live on the salaries that we obtained.
I understand that, but right now, let me tell you something. I'm retired, okay? On the money that I make, if you figured, if you need a 2-bedroom apartment, what do they want? About a couple $1,000s today, if you're lucky?
At least.
At least, okay, maybe 2,100.
3 is about 3,000.
I wouldn't be able to afford it.
I
I'm not
know.
gonna lie to you. I wouldn't be able to afford it. I mean, I don't know. I'm being honest with you.
Unless you are a lottery winner or something like that.
Well, basically, yeah. At least, it's why I feel bad for people and stuff like that. And when they keep going up on the taxes like this, we have to pass it on to the people that are paying the thing. How much more can they absorb? That's the reason being.
That's right. So I have my tax classification and budget analysis letter that I write every year. And that's going to be on the next show, which is 2 weeks from now on December 17th. We'll talk about that then because that is an important time frame because they are in the process of preparing their budgets right now. And there's no limit on the budgets. They can get whatever they want. So the next item that I identified on here is the Beverly Danvers and Beverly commissioners that we have basically lost. We had a commissioner for the Beverly Airport that's responsible for representing Danvers, Matt Moser resigned, and we had two Beverly Airport commissioners resign. One walked out the
Yes.
last meeting,
Yes.
and all of a sudden the mayor appoints somebody,
And they didn't even know
and
about
they
it.
didn't even tell anybody that he's being appointed.
I'm telling you, what a joke.
So we have a very serious issue. We have the airport manager that has resigned. We have other facilities at the site of the airport, that have changed hands because they can't stand what's going on. Beverly Airport is discombobulated right now, and that's a very nice word of how they are performing.
You're putting it very nicely the way you put it, because it's worse than that. It really is. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I just hope that we get some help. I mean, because really, it is a mess over there. And I'm telling you right now, the way the airport's going, I mean, I don't know. I don't even have the answers anymore. Really, it's terrible.
They don't seem to listen to
No, they
the
don't.
abutters. They don't seem to understand that there's an issue. And we have done many shows in regards to what's going on and how it's going to affect us. And people are still wondering, what is the problem?
You know what the problem is? The problem is they want the noise in Danvers. They don't want it in Beverly. They don't want it in Wyndham. They want it in Danvers. That is the problem.
That's the path of the.
And that is what's happening over there. Because the reason being is, not to be funny, is I have a radio and I put it on. I don't want to listen to the airport, I'll be honest with you, but I do it just to see what's going on. And believe me, we are getting tucked up our kazoot. And I have a funny feeling, if you look at the map, like I keep showing you, okay? The other side of the airport is not touched, okay? Like over by Wyndham Lake in that area there, they don't even fly over there. They could give us a break and they don't, okay? This has been going on for a long time. I'm just hoping, we have Sally Kearns, we have Joan Lovely, and we have Steve Moulton's office helping us out. And now Mr. Bennett is helping us out. I hope the Board of Selectmen are gonna come through and help us, because we need help, okay?
The Board of Selectmen have no teeth in this issue.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. See, the problem is that we, as the Board of Selectmen and the town management, have given up our ability to influence what's going on at the Beverly Airport to our residents, because we have abandoned the collection of the real estate taxes for the 170 acres that are located in the town of Danvers, but they're part of the Beverly Airport. So we have we're supposed to have a say by having two commissioners on there.
They work for the airport.
But even both of them, Matt Mosier resigned, and we have Aaron Henry in there.
And he's
and
trying. The last meeting, I got to give him credit. The last meeting, at least he was in there talking. He brought a letter from the Board of Selectmen to give to the board. He presented it to the board with some teeth on what he wants done. But I don't think anything's going to happen out of it. The reason being on the lead fuel. Now we're being poisoned. Not on top of it. Forget about the noise. Now we're being poisoned. Okay, and it's all over Danvers.
Well, it's not just the lead fuel. It is the water contamination, the groundwater contamination, the air pollution that's happening because of the engines that are being used on these planes, and now the jets are coming in, is also not as an issue regarding the noise, but that has been captive by the airport commissioners and everybody else. But the biggest problem is the expansion of the
that's
airport.
It. That's where
the master plan states that they want to increase the length of the runways 300 feet both directions, in and out. So 600-foot length extension.
That place should never be able to do it. It's too tight over there. That's the reason being. Right now, they're flying over the high school. They fly over Thorpe School. They fly over the junior high. They fly all over our ball fields and our playgrounds, okay?
Right.
So all this lead out of these planes, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can't see it, okay? But I don't know if it's doing damage. I mean, that's where they fly everywhere. I mean,
That's right.
And look, I went and met with a couple of the guys over there at the airport, okay? And I went over there to sit down and talk to them, because I was a little, irritated or whatever, okay? And at first I went in, the way he treated me, I was almost going to leave, I swear to God. So I went down, it's the assistant airport commissioner. So I sat down and talked to him. So finally, we did okay. We sat down, we talked. We talked for 2.5 hours, okay? And I told him what I saw and explained to him, I mean, I'm not telling him what to do. It's not my business to tell him what to do. I'm just telling him what I see and what I know, okay? That's it, And what I see is that Danvers is being taken advantage of. Okay.
Being abused.
Yes. Okay. Okay. If you go over to Connors Farm, I took the kids over there this year. I can't believe it, man. They're coming off 3-4. It's like a war zone over there. Okay. They even go into Topsfield. Okay. Hey, my father-in-law's buried over here at St. Mary's Cemetery. If you go up there, they're usually over there too. Okay. You go down to Pope's. You go down to Pope's Landing. They're over there. You go down. Listen, here's a good example I gave him. Okay. You go down to the Danvers Square, okay, and the runway 27, have coffee. You get a headache over there, okay? Now, if you do yourself a favor like I did, okay, I did it. My daughter wanted to go to Beverly, to a couple of stores. And my wife went, so I decided to go with her. It was on a Saturday. And they're on runway 26. So right across we went to the coffee shop right across from City Hall in Beverly.
Right.
Sat there, and out in the thing, they had a coffee, you know, whatever, while they went shopping and stuff like that. Quiet as all hell, okay? The whole time, okay? If you go down to the beach, okay? You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Quiet. You go down to the park, quiet. The only noise they get in Beverly is more or less around Henry's, okay? In that area there, around the golf and tennis courts, okay? I mean, around that area there, the golf course and there. That's it. That's all they get. We get it all in Danvers. Okay?
Well, the defense to that has been that the FAA is dictating what they should be doing. And as you mentioned, that we spent 2.5, maybe 3 hours sitting with some of the commissioners, and I won't go into the names, but there was an in-depth discussion of what is really happening to the residents of Danvers. And one of the surprising things that really struck me
They don't care.
is that the commissioners said basically they've never heard this before from anyone. This was the first time that they have been approached about such issues. And that's a bunch of baloney. The other thing that didn't impress me, is that they all rely on the FAA as the dictator of what goes on at the airport. That is so false.
Of course it is.
Because Beverly Airport commissioners have the responsibility of setting up rules and regulations that should be imposed on the airport itself and the pilots that are operating. Detailed BVY Commission responsibilities and authority are dictated in this 61-page document.
Just like Mr. Henry put it this way here at the last meeting. They have everything on paper on what they're supposed to do and what they do, and they don't do it, and they don't enforce it. If they did what is on paper, it would be good for us, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what my wife says all the time. If they did just what they said they were supposed to do, we'd be all set, okay? But they don't do it.
The problem is it is too hard for them to impose some of these rules, but these are the rules that have been made up by the commissioners.
To keep us
and
quiet.
The one thing that also hit me very hard is that the comment was back, we don't have any rules. We don't know what we should be doing.
Yes.
And that is so absurd.
Well, he's going to leave. He says he's not going to renew himself in January. He was talking about the commissioner.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another one's going to be leaving. I mean, it's a mess over there. Okay. And on top of it, I can't even go into it. They keep telling us there's rules and regulations. So that's a bunch of bull. The reason being, when I have the radio at home, I listen to it all the time. Okay. Right now, when they're supposed to use the common ones runway is 16. Okay. When they use it, they're using it. A lot of times they'll take right here. They'll have them do rights. Come back into Danvers. It's always in Danvers. Yeah. It's terrible, okay?
Well, the thing that we have to do, and I have been stressing that for months now, we must engage the Danvers residents, and we must engage them with the mayor of Beverly, because the mayor is the ultimate responsibility for the airport.
Yes, he is.
And he is the one that appointed airport manager back in 2018. July of 2018, she was appointed, and she was appointed by the mayor himself. And the residents of Beverly, Danvers, and Wenham need to call for the mayor to resolve these issues. And the mayor has been hiding under his desk because he doesn't want to rely on any actions that may curtail some of the activities at the airport. All they're interested in is expansion.
Exactly.
So one of the things that I want to bring up is this is right out of their rules and regulations. Beverly Regional Airport Commission, as airport proprietor, having the charge of operating, maintaining, and developing the airport with prudence and sound judgment, recognizes its responsibility to the citizens of the city of Beverly and abutting communities, while mindful of the impact airport operations can have upon the environment and social well-being of the community. The airport and its airspace shall be protected as an asset to the communities, having the primary purpose of facilitating air transportation, which is correct, in accordance with the regulations of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the United States of America. The Beverly Regional Airport Commission establishes the operating rules and regulations for the Beverly Regional Airport and the minimum standards for commercial operations. This is right out of their rules and regulations.
But they said they can't do anything.
Well, the thing is,
They
they
don't wanna do
don't
anything.
read it. They don't have a mission in their statement.
It's a mess over there.
The airport manager is vested with the authority to control the airport and will maintain supervision of all activities on the airport grounds subject to the rules and regulations adopted and promulgated by the Beverly Regional Airport Commission. It shall be his or her duty to enforce the provisions of this chapter. Now, as a result of the follow-up meeting to our 2.5 sit-down with the airport commissioners, I went on the internet and obtained the state regulations, the rules that they're supposed to abide by, and the Beverly Regional Airport rules that they're supposed to be operating under. They didn't know that they were there. So I don't understand what the Airport Commission is really doing.
Well, it's a mess, as you can see. But on top of it, I don't even know how they got away with this thing. Like you asked already too. And when they went for the expansion thing, we wrote letters and all this stuff like that. We don't even know if they went to the FAA. You remember you asked that. They don't even show us that stuff.
There was a stack of
Right.
comments that have been compiled and submitted to the consultant
Right,
who's working for the airport.
right.
And now we understand that those comments and the master plan are under review by the FAA.
But we don't know if those comments went in
No,
for them to look at.
we don't know.
And they won't tell us.
And they will not tell us because we even asked at that meeting that
Right.
we had, release the information so we can take a look at the whole master plan. They don't want to do that because it may impact their review effort. So all this whole thing
I don't know.
comes down to, Tony, the whole thing comes down to the $20 million that they have
21
been
million.
promised.
21 million.
21
That's what
million
it is. All about is the money.
that
That's what
they
it is.
have been promised by the FAA for the expansion and improvement of the airport.
And whether they make noise or whether they pollute us or whatever they contaminate it over there, whatever they dirty out groundwater,
care.
doesn't make a difference. They don't care.
That's
why it
right.
doesn't make a difference. That's why I don't understand how the town of Danvers let this happen. Not to be funny, okay? I'm being honest with you. Now, they should have had a noise impact study done. I don't understand why. On a project this big, $21 million, you trying to tell me you couldn't do a noise impact study and show us that the pollution out of those planes are not going to hurt us, that the land that's contaminated over there? I know.
They don't want to do it because it'll expose them of what they're actually doing at the
The
airport.
ladies of the lake a while back found lead on that property. It cost them, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was $250,000 or $500,000. It cost them to clean some of that area up,
Right.
heading towards the Wenham Lake. Okay,
Right.
that was
Because that's drinking water right there.
right.
And what we have,
Even
we
there's
have,
PFAS on that property too. They had tests done for that. We don't even know about the PFAS, do we?
well, we do because it's there. They even admitted it at their meetings, but they're not doing anything about removing it because that went into the groundwater. And the problem is that they have not traced how far that PFAS has gone.
I know they had someone over there doing studies on that,
Right.
but we don't know anything
Well,
about
all they're doing is that they're having monitoring wells, and they check it every so often to see if it's increased or
it. Is that-
decreased.
do they have monitoring wells?
Yeah. So that's the environmental piece of it. But the thing is, you and I, and many other residents have been calling for a environmental impact statement from the airport regarding the expansion and the current use of the leaded fuel, the water contamination, the wetlands contamination. They still don't have the permit from the environmental impact on the fence that they have replaced. So they're waiting for that, and it's mostly in the Danvers area. And I don't know what the heck is going on over there. So we need to continue monitoring this issue because
Remind
it
me
is
to tell you
important.
afterwards some stories about the fence. I know some stories about the fence.
I can guess what the fence looks like underneath. What we need to do is we need to go to the airport with a camera, and that's another thing.
You can't go on the property.
Well, yes, you can.
On the outskirts, you can't go in.
No, you can. I've been on the property, and I've been banned
Right,
3
that's what I'm
years
saying.
ago.
Right, you saw what happened?
But that's okay. But I've been on the property after that because I sued the pants off of them, and they need that realization that people will not stand for what's going on. So the mayor should respond to some of these issues. And-
I'm hoping the town of Danvers steps up and finally helps us out with this issue. Okay, it's just not me. It's not just Anthony Lane. It's all the people in Woodvale, Precinct 5, Precinct 6, Precinct 4. We're all affected. Okay, even town hall's affected by these things. Okay, all this area here. Okay, we have to get a handle of this.
Well, maybe one of the things that I've been suggesting is having a demonstration at the West Gate.
Yeah, well,
But
if it comes down to
but that takes people.
I know.
And people are afraid to step up. Now, there's also one other option, is to have a petition and a warrant article on the annual town meeting, because all you need is 10 signatures
not
to
a
get
problem.
it on there,
That's a piece of
and
cake.
ask for the legislature to rescind the agreements on the real estate tax collections that have been abandoned by the town of Danvers. There's over $1 million of assessed valuation of real estate taxes on 40-some million dollars worth of assessed property.
Well, they say that the economy is $31 million a year in
Uh,
assessed rent.
you-
I know that.
They
I-
dream about
I know
that.
they dream about it, and I know they're pulling a chain with that. But I mean, if they got that kind of money, man, they can afford to give us even $100,000 a year.
It's not that. It's Beverly is collecting all the revenue that's been made available through the flight schools and through the landing fees and the fuel, and we don't even collect any money on the fuel.
And the sad part about it, Danvers is such a good neighbor to these people. They give them everything. They give them 2 reps. We get no money for it, right?
That's
Even last time when they had the air show, okay, Danvers even gave them 2 school buses to drop people off in the parking lot and bring them up, okay? I mean, that's how nice Danvers is to them. But what do we get in the top of it? Slap in the face.
Well, I hope that will change in the very near future, but I think our legislative support has waned since the elections, and we need to reinvigorate that. Maybe what we need to do is invite Sally Kearns and Senator Lovely and Seth Moulton's office. Usually it's Norm Abbott is the one that's been communicating
Exactly,
with
yes.
us, and he's been very helpful, but they can't do a damn thing either.
Now I think we got to get Mrs. Warren involved and maybe Mr. Mackey also. I mean, that's what Mr. Bennett said. He's going to call him and ask him. I'm hoping he follows up on what he was saying.
Markey?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
we need
Senator.
Senator Markey. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you said Mackey.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, there's no Mackey in the Senate.
No. I'm talking about our two senators.
Yes,
I think really we have a mess on our hands,
yes, we do.
and it's not getting any better. And I don't know how it's going to get squared away. It's not up to me. I mean, I'll be honest with you.
We
I
need,
know a lot. I don't really want to know all this stuff. Okay, I'll be honest with you. Okay, but you have to understand what's going on. And I'm telling you, they are taking advantage of us. Okay, I'm telling you right now, we need relief. That airport has to give us some relief. They have to take right-hand turns on runway 34 and give us some relief. I'm telling you, they are killing us. And even when at the last meeting, they gave a proposal on the runways on which one to use more. They come up that runway 27 is used 40% of the time. It was the highest out of all of them, but that's even higher, okay?
Yep.
My calculations is runway 27 is used about 75% of the time, okay? And the rest of them, peanuts, okay? I understand, I apologize, but
all right. Thank you, Tony. I think we're to the point where this has to be brought back up to the airport commissioners and to the Board of Selectmen. And what I understand from some of our remaining commissioners from Danvers is that they are so frustrated that they cannot do anything anyway. And that's why this thing is just floundering all over the place. And now they're in search for a new airport manager, and they're appointing Beverly commissioners to the Beverly Airport Commission. And Danvers really has, it's like the tail wagging the dog. And what happens is until the mayor steps up and puts his foot down and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, nothing's going to happen. So we need to appeal this to the mayor.
We need the Board of Selectmen to stand behind us, okay? At the last meeting, there was a lot of people there that wouldn't let us talk. They were supposed to have they're supposed to put together a Selectmen workshop. We're all waiting for it. Even the people in Anthony Lane are looking for it. The people in my neighborhood are looking for it. The people down on Burley Street are looking for it. We want a workshop so we can get to the bottom of this, because it can't keep going this way. It has to stop. It has to.
We need to have the Board of Selectmen have a town meeting with us.
Let me ask you a question. This is a good period. This is going on, and you see what's happening, okay? If they don't take care of us, and when all these jets come in, and it becomes a mini Logan Airport, and there's so much noise, and people can't live there, and they have to drop they have to drop our property taxes, who is going to reimburse us? The town of Danvers or the city of Beverly?
Well, there's also an alternative. We should, all the neighbors to the airport, which is a very big area, go for abatements to the town hall and have the Steve Bartha give us our return on our investment, because we're being affected and we are getting overtaxed.
Got that
So
right.
maybe an abatement process. There's other alternatives, but I think the key one is the Mayor Cahill has to come on board.
And we need the Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
We have to.
Well, the Board of Selectmen are, I think they're afraid of the mayor.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, look, we're being taken advantage of. That's the best way to put it. I can't put it any other way, okay? And I know what I'm talking about because I have a radio at home. I pay attention, okay? And like my wife says all the time, and it's very true, if they did half the stuff they have the good neighbor policy, they have all these
Yes.
things, they do nothing. No, they don't even do one thing on those things. If they did half that stuff, our life would be better. Even Mr. Henry brought it up at the last meeting. Here we are, we're telling the people we're going to do all this stuff, and nothing gets done.
Right. Well, the one thing that I collected at the last meeting was also a contact for the tower and the FAA. And Mary Parsons is our contact with the tower, which is being used as an excuse for the operations on the airport itself. And I have a telephone number, and maybe what I'll do is invite her for our next show. But I think, maybe one in January, first week in January, because that is an important person that has been dealing with this for a long time.
I have that number. Mr.
I
Massetti
know.
gave it to me.
I know. Well, I have it too, and we should probably contact her. All right, Tony, thank you very much
No
for
problem whatsoever.
participating in
I
this.
understand. I hope I didn't come across too strong. This
No,
is a,
no, no,
you know,
no.
it's just I feel bad. I mean, it's terrible. You know.
The neighbors are aggravated, the neighbors are being ignored, and the neighbors are being abandoned by our appointed representatives.
And it's been going on for too long.
Well, this has been going on for 25, 30 years.
Yeah, well, you know that.
Yeah,
But it's
I
getting worse. It's not getting better. That's the problem.
I know. All right, so now that we're almost halfway through,
Okay.
more than halfway through, I'd like to attempt to open up the discussion in regard to what is going on with our school system and our current school board. Basically, we have 4 new members, basically, because during the 2 elections, we have 2 ladies on the school committee, and now we have 2 gentlemen that just came on.
Mr. Lopes, and I don't know the other gentleman's name.
No, I don't either. I don't.
I wasn't even aware there was someone. I knew they were looking for someone. I didn't
Yeah.
even know there was someone on here.
And
I'm surprised they didn't put it on patch because usually I read it and I didn't see anything
so
about that.
Eric Crane is the only lonely soul that has been on there for 20 years. And Eric was very accommodating last
Yes, he was.
last
He's a
show
gentleman.
that we've had. And I asked him to come on to do a more in-depth study of what's going on with our school system. So what I shared this with Eric, and he has his own reasons for not being here because of medical issues of his wife. So we'll proceed, and I wish that he was here because this is something that we have talked about, Eric Gardner Trask and myself. We went into this discussion about the woke syndrome that's going on with our community. It's the awakening of Danvers parents, taxpayers, and residents about what really matters. And we have this little collage here of some of the things that are being considered as woke: defund the police, socialism, ban packing the court, Supreme Court, open borders. We have some of these issues ingrained into our own community and our own culture. But the problem here is that these are national issues, and they are being absorbed into our community. And there's a word of wisdom that I've been using the last 2 shows, is education is an admirable thing, but it is well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth knowing can be taught. And you have to dig a little deeper on, this is a quote by Oscar Wilde. And the thing is that we are not digging deep enough, because we have the awakening of the Danvers residents and what really matters: blind obedience to current dictatorships in government, racial agenda, LGBTQ agenda,
I know it's a lot of.
and the cultural circumstances. What is wrong? The town management initiated a new position for DEI in our government and the school department to divert the attention for the mismanagement by our elected officials. Our elected officials have not taken the responsibility to lead the town in the right direction. They would rather give it to a committee that's appointed by the town manager to take the heat off of them, whether it's the Board of Selectmen, or Select Board, I should say, or the school committee. those are the two main boards of our community that direct the actions, and they spend our real estate taxes, our taxes that we pay every day. There are 27,000 residents in this town. There's probably, I don't know, 12,000 to 14,000 units of housing. And those are the people that pay the taxes and should be responded to in regard to what's going on in our town. We cannot rule by committee or appointments. Danvers School Department and organization needs the community. So, Jack, if we can throw up the community collage. And what I want to do is I want to get into the school department basically because that is one thing that is missing. Our schools, our town government, our planning board, our library are disconnected from the rest of the community. The community is the 27,000 people that live in this town, and they have the authority of making sure that this is the culture that they want to live under. So one of the things that I have been struggling with in school department discussion, the school committee members are currently in disarray as well. They have a school committee member selection that is being done for the superintendent.
Right, the superintendent, how much power does the superintendent have? Is that where all the power comes from
For the schools, it's the superintendent,
Does the-
similar to what the town manager does
That's what
for
I'm
the board of
The
selectmen.
town manager has no say in the school committee, does he?
Oh, he has influence on the budget because
Right.
he has to provide
But
the
as far
money
as
for it.
he stays out of it though, he just,
He stays out of the education of our children and our students.
so now we're looking for a superintendent. Hopefully the superintendent can bring us together, we hope.
Yes, and what I took to heart the comment that Eric Crane made last show is that I should watch the October 17th school committee meeting, and
I
I
did hear him
did
mention
that
that too.
last night.
Oh, you did, okay.
I went through the whole thing,
Okay,
and I was disappointed in a way because that was the meeting where they had the opportunity to identify the credentials that are needed for our superintendent. And our credentials, the primary credentials, are leadership and communication and advancement of our education system, and not the social and emotional learning and all of that. We are not in the business of bringing up the children, the school committee is not in the business of bringing up children that are our children. They're not the school committee's children.
well, that's it. You have to have a lot of input from the family too. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Growing up myself, I mean, my family wasn't really heavy on education, so I really didn't really go heavy into education. I'm not gonna lie to you. But I know with my kids, and my wife was really heavy on them and stuff like that, you have to be involved. And you have to stay there. And if you are, I mean, it makes a big difference. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, today I know there's a lot of problems in schools and stuff like that. It's because the parents have to be involved and have to watch what's going on. If not, that doesn't, help out also.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
it's a combined effort. It's
Exactly.
between the educators in the schools, parents, and I hate to even say it, is the cultural governance of our town. Our kids don't understand how our town is being run, who makes the decisions, and what kind of decisions they make. So, school committee committee member search has happened already. There were 5 applicants. 2 of the 5 immediately withdrew out of the political hassle that's going on.
Oh, really?
And 3 were interviewed, and I attended the interview of those 3 members.
They're from around here, do you know, or anything like that? Or-
They are all local.
Really?
They all have children, at least 2 children in our school system.
Oh.
So there's
Is
a
that good or bad?
well, that's the problem. The school committee appointment is not a reason to have children in the school system, but to be independent and observe and project the discipline and how we're going to educate our children, not because they're their children, because they'll take care of their kids. I know that my wife was taking care of our girls every single September. She used to go to the school department and to the teachers and had them transferred into the right courses that were needed, because Danvers school system has suffered from being dumbed down over the last 25 years. And that's evident right now because they're going through a depletion of students that are going to Essex Tech, St. John's Prep, Fenwick, or other schools. So the school committee member search happened, and Joshua Kepnes, he was appointed by the 4 school committee members.
Okay.
Appointment is for the remainder of the Jeff K. term through May of 2023.
So we have a principal right now?
He's a school committee person,
Oh, okay. The one,
school
got
committee
it.
member.
Understood. Okay.
We have a
Right.
temporary
Got it.
superintendent,
Okay.
and I'm just very suspicious, and I have always been suspicious, that at the last school committee meeting, or the meeting that I viewed for October 17th, Mary Vermer has been called superintendent right through the, not acting superintendent, but superintendent.
Well, before they had 2 acting superintendents before the other gentleman
No,
left.
they had 2 assistant
Is
superintendents.
that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
I know that it made a difference because it was for their pay.
One was for curriculum, and the other one was for finance.
Okay.
So, so now that we have gone through this gyration, and Joshua Kepnes, I have not heard anything from
No.
him or what he's done.
Well, he'll be on the next meeting. He'll be, if you watch the next meeting, you'll see him for sure. Then I would imagine.
Well, he was supposed to be there in November, but the last next meeting.
You went to the last meeting, I think. It was
Yes,
the
yes.
same one as the airport meeting.
That's
Remember?
right,
You
that's
left to
right.
go to that.
That's right. So
He wasn't at that meeting.
he was.
He
Yes,
must not.
he was. He
He wa-
sat there.
He does. Okay.
Yes, he sat there, didn't say a word.
Okay. Well, he's just getting learning.
Well, there's a lot to learn.
Oh,
over
no
there.
question about it.
There's a lot not to do things.
On top of it, too, you got to realize one thing too. They don't get paid for it, so the volunteers.
This is not a paid job
That's
that
what I'm saying.
they get elected to. They decide to, as I have and as other people have, to get elected to a position of leadership, not of salary.
Right.
This is not a salary.
That's what I'm saying.
The top salary guy in town is Steve Bartha. I mean, he's over $250,000 a year right now. So that's not what they're for. That's not what they're after. So the school superintendent search has been going on, and they have established a selection committee.
Okay.
That's what it was.
To select
And-
the superintendent.
To interview and eliminate
The
some
3
of
finalists.
Yes,
Okay.
finalists.
And all 3 finalists are from this area. You said-
No, there's what I understand
Okay.
is that there are 20 applications,
Okay.
and that's what I was looking for on the October 17th meeting,
Okay.
of what were the qualifications that they were looking for.
And they narrowed it down to 5. Is that what you said?
No, they have not narrowed anything down yet.
Okay.
The interviews are beginning, I think, this week.
Okay.
So that's a search committee that's going to be interviewing these individuals or reviewing their resumes, and some of them will go away right away.
Well, yeah, you would imagine.
So, one of the things that I've
Now, on the pay, do they go the same pay the other superintendent left at, or do they?
oh, it's wide open.
Wide open?
Oh, it's wide open.
Why can't we get less?
Because we are hiring somebody that's got less experience than our previous superintendent, and our previous superintendent came out of the ranks of the teachers, and then she got her superintendent license after that. So 17 years in the position, that brings you into the $200,000 range.
And it was in Pat. She got another job.
Yes.
She retired, but she went back to work.
Of course she did. There was a reason, and that's another thing that we have to explore is why did the superintendent actually resign? And it wasn't for health reasons. But that's my opinion, and I'll stick to it.
No, I understand.
All right, so.
I just hope we can save some money. If we can get someone better for less.
No,
that'd be
no,
good.
no, no. Look what happened with this, the town manager. The town manager's salary came out higher than what Wayne was making because they fell in love
Oh, I
with the.
I don't want to,
That's another thing.
it's another story. I mean, you
But-
know how it is.
What I wanted to bring up.
Put it this way,
we
I
have-
wouldn't want the headache.
Well, you don't want
I
that.
couldn't handle it probably, for sure. It takes, it takes a person. I mean, you know how it is. I'll be honest with you. Right now, I am very glad I'm not in business. The way this country is today, I'm serious. The way everything's going, I'm telling you, I'm glad that I'm retired. I can sit back and relax because this world is not the world it used to be as far as I'm concerned.
All right, so let's move on because we only have 8 minutes left.
I understand.
What I wanted to just address, and we have a situation in our town with our town employees where Mark Lantini came before the Board of Selectmen and basically resigned on a Tuesday, effective that Friday, and he's a 22 or 23-year Department of Public Works employee.
Why?
Because he got fed up with what was going on. There's no respect for the employees in this town. The employees are being, well, I don't want to say that, but abused. This Mr. Lantini reflected my assertions over the last 3 years about retirements, resignations, firing, and just getting out of the town management style. 120 employees per year, because I asked for that list of the number of employees that have either retired, they were removed, or they quit, or whatever. And this is in reflection. The defunding of our police and fire has been ongoing on without the consensus of the selectmen knowing what is going on. Recent staff was 7 officers short. Where did the funding go? It is impossible to raise such issues without having the wrath fall on you. Thank you, Mark Lantini. You just confirmed my investigative research that I've been trying to get to over the last 2 years. And everything is being blamed on COVID, that everything is happening. So over 2 years, 220 employees turned over, whether they retired, were removed, whether they resigned, and this is what's happening.
They don't have enough officers. I know for a fact I got a police radio at home, and they can't fill details.
That's
There's
right.
a couple of details that can't even be filled. They don't have the manpower to put out there. They're bringing them in from the sheriff's department and everybody else.
But my point behind this thing is what has happened to the school system? That is being very quiet about how many teachers have resigned and changed positions or went to another community.
They're having a turnover there too.
Well, that's the question I raised to Eric Crane last show. And this is what I wanted to follow up, because what I also want to follow up on is Superintendent resigned, school finance assistant superintendent resigned, school committee members resigned, athletic director resigned, St. Pierre resigned. How many teachers resigned? They don't want to talk about that. So maybe what I'll have to do is put in a FOIA request, Freedom of Information request, and find out about that, similar to what I did with the town hall. Special notice, has this been happening in our school system and we did not even know it? Is everything swept under the rug? That's my comment.
Well, management is supposed to take care of this stuff, basically.
Yeah, but
Right now, we have no superintendent, so everything fell under the. I don't know. I can't explain it.
well, there's an acting superintendent, and she's getting paid superintendent's rate.
Right.
Okay.
Do we still have an acting? Do we have an acting superintendent?
Mary Wormer is
Okay,
the acting
Because
superintendent.
for a while there, you remember with the other lady, she was running the high school and being the vice superintendent. Trying to think of her name. A while back.
Oh, that's a different
Yeah, she
story.
left. She retired, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. She was a nice lady.
Okay. What I've done is I've also want to introduce very quickly is the subject that Eric Crane and I were going to be discussing, and this is SEL, Social and Emotional Learning presentation being viewed on Topics of the Town. Explanation from the parent group in Newburyport. One of the sensitive topics in the inclusion of SEL, CRT, and gender and sex education. The following is an excerpt from presentation to Newburyport parents. FOIA request to Danvers did not produce results. And I have a clip that I wanted to show, but I think I'm going to save that for Eric, because that is a piece of information that only the school committee and the school administration can answer, and I don't want to be in a situation where I make up things. What you will learn in this presentation, if you want to watch it, and is being shown on DCAT, what really is being taught in our schools with regard to the buzzwords social emotional learning, critical race theory, diversity, equity and inclusion, gender identity ideology, and culturally responsive teaching. These are buzzwords that are sort of hiding what's really going on in the school system. What comprehensive sex education is and what the impact will be on sex education already being taught in our public schools.
We shouldn't be teaching sex education.
If there's a public school throughout the state of Massachusetts, if the Massachusetts House of Representatives passes the Healthy Youth Act, Massachusetts Senate Bill 2459, there is a bill and there have been hearings by the state legislature in regard to sex education, CRT, SEL, all of these buzzwords.
It should be left up to the parents.
Well, no, it should be eliminated by the school committee, and the school committee needs to step up and say enough is enough. So, but that's the reason I wanted to leave this for Eric when he comes back, and he will come back. He's very accessible. So what I want to do is, this is going to be our piece of school education.
Do you think, I mean, sex education should be left with the parents, shouldn't be not done in school.
You're preaching to the choir.
My honest opinion.
So, closing comments, all I have is thank you, Tony, for sitting in with me. I appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for the help you've done with the airport and stuff like that, and all the time you've gone to meetings with me and helped me out and stuff like that.
Well, we'll continue that.
No,
That's
no
not
question
going to
about it.
go away.
No.
But I want to close this in the last 30 seconds, is that we will have a show on December 17th, which will be our Christmas show, and hopefully we'll have all of our Christmas paraphernalia up front here, and want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Definitely.
And forget about these holidays. It's Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Exactly. No question about it.
Thank you, Danvers.
Merry Christmas. Yeah.